Who was that on the phone?
Elijah.
I thought he wasn't
We're
here.
live. He's not. He is in Ohio County.
Oh, I didn't do that.
Well,
Reset.
we're
Okay, we're live. What's up, everybody? This is the second episode of Mama Bird's Cuckoo's Nest. We're gonna talk this episode about generational traumas, childhood traumas, how our generation, my generation, has been trying to do better, and I think that this generation is probably going to be even better because of it. My special guest today is JJ. He's going to talk about all the trauma that I caused him in his childhood. Miss Lala had to go home before we could finish this because our camera was being a little bit persnickety today. So first I'm going to start off with generational trauma. A trauma that extends from one generation to the next begins when a group experiences a traumatic event that causes economic, cultural, and familial distress. In response, people belonging to that group develop physical or psychological symptoms. Okay. Childhood trauma, scary, dangerous, violent, or life-threatening event that happens to a child. This event can also happen to someone your child knows, and your child is impacted as a result of seeing or hearing about it. Okay, so I'm gonna give some examples of my childhood trauma. First, I want to say I looked these up. Ages between 18 and 24 are the most likely to get counseling than older adults, which makes total sense. And I had to look it up because they used these little Gen X, Gen Z, whatever, and I didn't know what I was. Do you know what you are?
I'm Gen Z.
No, you are a millennial.
Because I told Leah last night that you said that. And then she looked it up and it said that 98 to 99 to 09 is Gen Z, and then 010 or 10 and up is Gen A.
Okay, well, this is what I looked up when I Googled. I think I Googled what generation is 1984 because that's what I am, and so I wanted to know. So I'm actually Gen X. It goes from the year after Gran was born to the year I was born, Gen X. And then the year after I was born to the year you were born,
Jesus
millennial,
Christ.
is what it says.
That probably makes more sense though, because it's like 20 years.
Right.
So.
Each. Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to give some examples of my childhood trauma. And JJ, have you thought about your examples of your childhood trauma that you're going to share?
No.
Do you think you can come up with some fairly quickly?
Possibly.
Possibly?
Yes.
Okay. So a big one would be obviously having a drug addict and alcoholic father. That caused several for me. I'm gonna try to sprinkle in some cool stories telling about how this was traumatic for me. So one of the main stories that sticks out in my head was, I don't even know how old I was, honestly. I was maybe like 10 or 11, and we were at one of my dad's friends' houses, and they had all left and gone drinking, and I was at the house. I think it was just me at the house, and they come back, and everybody's like in a hurry, and they leave again, and I'm like, what is going on? And they come back. They had come back to get knives, guns, I don't know, something. And they went back to where they had been drinking at because they had gotten in a fight with another group of guys. And so when they come back, they're covered in blood. And my dad, of course, drunk. And I had to clean him all up. And there were teeth in his arm. So, he had, done this to somebody, and their teeth stuck in his arm. after he hit him. And so I had to, like, dig that out. And then the next morning, I went out to the truck and to get something out of the truck, and the whole truck, like, the inside is covered in blood from where they had rode home in it. And I don't really know where they were or what they, like, why were they fighting? Like, why? I have no idea about that. So that's one good one about it. Another thing that happened because of him is my dislike of guns, which I have gotten over quite a bit of here recently, I would say. But, I mean, you remember that I used to, like, freak all the way out. And I didn't want guns around me. I didn't want anything. I had seen my dad pull a little gun on somebody one time. Kind of. Apparently, they say that Craig didn't lose a fight. But
I believe it. I'm not going to lie.
I mean,
just for the sole purpose of, like, I don't think he was stronger than any man, but I think his will to live was not really. I don't want to say his will to live because the fact that he was getting into all those. But that's the thing. I think he had no will to live. Like, he would do anything to win that fight, and it didn't matter what it took. But he was winning that fight.
I think he went into his whole life thinking things like that he was just gonna, because we used to go camping, and I really don't remember where we were camping at, somewhere on the lake, and it was a campground, but I don't remember where it was. And he'd go out there and just a bunch of his buddies, and of course they're all, Craig Burgess types. I couldn't even tell you who any of them were at this point.
Side note, guess who me and Momo saw in Pockets last night?
Oh yeah, I heard. She already told me. Yeah.
But yeah, go on.
There will be lots of stories about that one also. So what was I talking about?
Campsite.
Okay, yeah. Friends. So we're all out there, and Granddaddy had a boat when I was growing up, like a teenager. Well, I guess younger than a teenager, because I quit going over there when I was 14. So I guess before I was even 10, probably we had it. But every single time we took it out, it broke down. It never, every single time. It didn't matter how much he worked on it. It did not matter. It broke down every time. So we got out there. A bunch of his friends had stuff. And somebody had a jet ski. That was when jet skis were brand new around here, at least. And Dad gets out there. And so my dad was a trick skier.
I believe that, too.
He's
like the male Barbie for me. I swear he did everything. Like, you name something, he probably, it was either his profession or his hobby at some point in time.
So he had, in the boat, he had regular skis that you just skied with regular, and he had the trick skis that didn't have a fin on the bottom of them. Yeah. And so he could go, jump the wake on the side of the boat. He would do, turns. He could do a flip. When he jumped the wake or whatever. So that's another one of those fearless things. He used to jump off the rock quarry all the time. Drunk. I don't know how he's still alive. Well, he's not still alive, but I don't know how he made it as long as he did. But so we're all out there, and I don't even remember what time of day it is or anything, but Craig was out there on the jet ski just being so dumb. Doing all the extras and, hot rodding it and everything. And probably had been drinking and doing no telling what else. And I'm on the bank. And Craig comes into the bay on this jet ski. And somehow he did something and his wrist pulled the key out of the thing. And it has, you can't stop or anything when the thing's off. So he's coming full speed ahead into this little bay, the campground. And, nothing he could do. And so he turns the jet ski over and it, hits somebody's boat and shoots up on the land. And,
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that there was some, he probably shouldn't have been operating machinery like that, maybe, that would be. So, okay, so another one of my childhood traumas, and I don't know if you remember this very much. I need to have Lindsay or Jamie or Jacob or somebody on here. But Granny Carol and Granny B fighting all the time. Fighting over the grandkids.
I do, kind of.
Fighting. Because you were young.
I mean, I don't really feel like I saw them fight a bunch, but, like, Granny Carol hated me. And I knew she hated me. Like, there was no other way to put it. She did not like me. She didn't like the thought of me. She loved me. She would do stuff for me. She would take me places. But, like, it was so obvious that I was not her favorite in any way at all. But Granny B, I mean, praise the ground I walk on almost, I felt like.
So, I was not Granny Carol's favorite, and that comes, we'll probably talk about this at some point too, because that comes from my mom leaving Craig, and Craig was her sweet angel baby, and nothing, he could do no wrong, and don't make him mad or whatever. And so my mom was an evil harlot who got her baby pregnant, and then left him, Yeah. And it was a whole thing. And then she disliked us even more after the whole Caitlin thing. That was cemented. Me and Granny Carol fighting in the front yard after she had gotten some dementia, and she come out one time in the front yard. I was there picking up Caitlin or something, and I feel like she had a stick waving it at me or something. She used to chase y'all around with sticks all the time. I know that. But I feel like she had like a stick waving it at me. And I think she was cussing me, and Granny Carol didn't cuss. Granny Carol didn't cuss at nothing. You can't say, Will, do y'all say deviled eggs at your house? Does your granny let you say deviled eggs?
My granny Rebecca says stuffed eggs. We can't say deviled eggs.
You do not let the devil in this house. They were dressed eggs at my Granny Carol's house. You do not bring the devil into this house anywhere.
My granny didn't play about it.
Yeah, no, Granny Carol didn't either. You did not bring alcohol into her house, and you did not bring the devil. And every one of us had the same birthday cake for about the first 12 years of our lives.
Probably from
They came from Smith's. No. The old food giants used to be Smith's.
Oh, I'm already knowing.
And it was one of them little cakes, and it had the angels, the plastic angels on it. And that was the only cake. It wasn't like a character cake. It wasn't anything like that. It was angels on the cake in her house. Like, she didn't have TV. Like, she had the satellite that could only pick up Christian shows on it. Yeah, she didn't have TV. She had a VCR, but there was only like Disney movies.
And it was Bible songs.
I love God, but
I bet you from up until I was about like 12 or 13, I could just, if you played that, I could probably go bar for bar. Just all these like Bible songs.
Veggie Tales. It was all about Veggie Tales.
Veggie Tales.
All of and then like the Little Rascals was one of the movies she had over there, and like the Disney movies we could watch. But
I watched Princess and the Frog a bunch.
That was it. And then so Granny B, who was Granny Carol's mother, but you would not have known it. They don't really look alike. They definitely didn't act alike. And they really acted like they hated each other almost every single day. Like, it was interesting. But Granny B had all the TV. She had cable because she wasn't going to miss her sports games. When UK played, she was on it or whatever. And so when Granny B moved out of her house and moved over to Granny Carol's house and had her little spot built, it was a fight for the grandkids. Whose house was the grandkids spending more time at, because that person was winning. And they had favorites. Like, I don't know. That was something I could have a lot to say about the way, like, both of them would fix you what you wanted to eat. Like, but like Granny Carol locked me in a room one time. Messing stuff up now. Good gosh. I can think of a lot of times that Granny Carol didn't just love me. And Granny B, I could do no wrong in my Granny B's eyes. Like, she's, like, one of the people who never spoke negative about me. Like, I know that she always 100% had my back and loved me. But, like, there's maybe, like, 2 people ever that I can say that. He's playing cop music, so the dogs will howl in the other room. Okay, so one of the other things in my childhood trauma is going to a Catholic church every other weekend and then a Pentecostal church on the other weekends.
Boy.
So that's they were 2 completely different. So we used to go.
That happened to me. Like, I used to go to church with my granny, and then we used to have the Mormons pull up to our house teaching us. It's like the same thing, but they just like add steps to it.
So I went to a really small Catholic church with my mom, and I did like CCD classes and I did all the stuff. But you know, if you go to a Catholic mass, it's the same every time. You kneel the same place every time. You say the same thing at the same time. It's a different song you sing, but it's always at the exact same time. Like, all of the things, you know exactly what's going on, and it's very. And then, like, at my granny's church, they were like bouncing off the walls, and like I would see people like speaking in tongues, and they're like, it was so different from what I was used to. And I feel like I was told that I was wrong for going to the other ones. Like, this one would tell me I was wrong, and that one would tell me I was wrong, and there was a whole thing with that. And then, I'm not gonna, I'll tell you about that one later. So, okay, so generational traumas. This is gonna be something that you're gonna think about too. I know you're just sitting here for right now, but then we're gonna get into talking about you. So, generational trauma is like the whole single mom, young mom thing. My mom was 20 when she had me. I was 20 when I had you. I don't think her mom was much more than 20 when she had her. My mom's mom had 4 baby daddies, 4 different baby daddies. She was married to 2 of them, the first one and the last one. And the other 2 kids didn't know who their dads were. She didn't keep in touch with them. And there's not like internet and stuff, and they didn't have good records. Like, I think my aunts tried to find her dad and can't. And my uncle, they found his, but it, you know, was kind of difficult to do that. And so the young mom and the single mom type thing, because Mamu was single. So then Granny Carol, my dad's mom, was in a very abusive relationship. My grandpa was pretty abusive. She was married 3 times, but to 2 different men. Did you know Granny Carol and Granddaddy Chester got married twice?
I did not know that.
Yes, they did. And then BB was divorced in like the 50s, which is unheard of. Like, you just don't get divorced in the 50s. And she was a single mom for a little while, and then she got married again, but he died. So I never had men on either side of my family. And so I think that had a lot, like I didn't have men for you guys growing up because I didn't have men, and then mom didn't have like a man to look up to. So I think that kind of is part of it. And low income and generational wealth. Nobody in our family, I guess grandpa is well off, but we didn't live the same life he did, or we're not, he didn't have as much of an influence on our life, I guess, as other people did. Addiction is a big one, the generational traumas. Granddaddy Chester was an alcoholic. Several of his brothers were alcoholics. My dad was an alcoholic, which is funny, and I guess we'll talk about it on one of the shows too, is how there were 5 kids, and Craig is the only one who ended up an alcoholic. One of them passed away. She was ill since she was like 11, so she wasn't ever able to live on her own. But the other 3 are all married with kids and grandkids and have had careers their whole life and own houses and cars and go on vacations and all of the quote unquote like normal things that people do. And then here's Craig, who made probably more money than any of them several of those years. Maybe not Frank. Frank probably made more money than Craig. But Craig made over $100,000, and this was 15, 16 years ago. Several years he did that, but he didn't have. I mean, they always lived in the crappiest houses. Craig would drive the crappiest car. Do you remember the red Blazer when he got sick and we had to drive that and it was a stick? Oh my gosh!
And it was snowing and ice, and we had the trash bags over the windows.
Yes, it had a trash bag over the back window. Yes, that was definitely some interesting times. So those are some things that I have. And I think we'll talk about how it affects my life, but I want to know if you can think of what are a couple of examples of like a childhood trauma. I actually had a couple written down. I think I have them over here. So I have a couple written down, but I want to think of what you can come up with that you would think is a trauma from your childhood. From me, from the outside world, from dad, gran, whatever it is.
All right. Not having a father figure.
Okay. So that's a childhood trauma, which is also a generational trauma.
I don't know why, but like having so many freaking wrecks. Like I swear, people tell me nowadays they've never been in a wreck, and I'm like, you're crazy, because I swear I've been in so many. Like
yeah, I ain't never been in that many wrecks.
Oh my god!
What all wrecks have you been in though?
I've only been in like 2 or 3 of them, but I mean, I remember whenever Liz slid the car whenever we were all in it. I remember my wreck.
I don't think you were in the car with us when we had that wreck with Liz.
Yeah, I was on the other side of the car seat.
Oh, so Paige wasn't in the car.
No, it was both the car seats, and I was on the side that didn't get hit, so they got hit. I was like behind the car seat. Yes. I was the only one that had nothing happen. And then I remember my wreck. I remember another one.
Granddaddy's wreck.
Granddaddy having his wreck whenever you hit the deer on the way to Louisiana.
Yeah. Yeah.
That one, because it was a cycle of emotions. Whenever I wasn't in it, but whenever y'all got hit with the U-Haul, we ran over by the U-Haul.
I had a little fender bender in Florida with you and Carissa were in there, and both of y'all were in car seats, and y'all were maybe a year old, both of y'all, and I flipped out about it. And then, I don't know if this would have been, you weren't even probably a year old when this happened, when I got my first apartment, and Keita was like 12 or 13, something like that. That's his aunt, Marvin's sister. And she was at my house, and she wanted to go check the mail in the apartment complex, which was right back around by the front. And she was like, and I'm going to take your car. And I was like, no, you're not. I was like, but the mailbox key is in the thing in my car, so get in my car and get the mailbox key out. This girl done got in my car, drove it around to the mailbox, hit somebody's car, hit the mailbox, came back around and tried to stop when she pulled into the parking lot and hit the fucking apartment. Like, she ran it into the building.
What the hell?
Bro.
I see that in like movies and stuff.
Bro. What do you do?
I seen that Burger King.
I know Burger King in Mayfield had it. Ashley's ran into the side of a house.
There was one time we were, I was in the back seat. You remember this. I was in the back seat, and she went in to get something, right?
Oh, my God.
And I seen one of her CDs up in the front, and I'm like, how old was I? Like 7 or 6?
I would say maybe 7, 8, 9, somewhere around that.
Like that. And so I climbed my happy self up to get her seat. I was like, I was gonna get my good boy award for the day. You know what I mean? Like, and I was gonna tell her too. And so, but I guess when I did that, I like hit the e-brake or some kind of brake,
Yeah,
or push
so I
it
had
into
a
neutral
5-speed.
or something.
At a 5-speed. It was in neutral and the e-brake was on because I just ran in the house to get something. I was coming right back out. And he hit and the e-brake went off.
Yeah.
And we lived, like, our driveway was on a slope. And he rolled down the driveway and back into the neighbor's yard. And he had opened his back door trying to jump out.
But
a tree was right there. And the car hit the tree and the door bent all the way back. And
if I hadn't opened the door, I would have hit the house.
Yes. And if he'd have tried to jump when he opened the door, he would have been smashed by the car in the tree. The door in the tree. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, you want to talk about fucking... Oh!
My childhood trauma.
I feel like I just unlocked so many core memories.
Yeah,
because
core
I don't
memories.
remember half.
That's
those
what this
crashes.
is gonna do. We're gonna tell these stories. I wanted to absolutely murder. I mean, like I was like, "Give me a hug," and then I was like, "What the fuck were you doing?" Like, oh my God, like. I can't believe that he said Rex out of everything. Like that's what he remembers is Rex. We haven't
I don't
even
know.
really had
It
that
never
many.
really like. It doesn't really give me any trauma. It just like is so weird that there's people on this planet that have never been. I thought that was such a regular thing. That getting in a wreck was like almost like it's gonna happen. Like it
Like
always
Pops
happens.
gets
Yeah,
in
like
a wreck
Pops.
every time he goes
Oh
anywhere.
my God! Like, but what has he? He always gets in a
Not
wreck.
in the new car.
But,
Like
like,
knock on some wood
It's like
somewhere
always
for him.
some, but like there's people like other people that have never ever been in a. They've been driving their whole life. They go till they're almost dying days and they've never been in a wreck. And I just don't believe it. Simple as that. But it's not really traumatic or anything.
Okay,
But
so
I
is there
feel
anything
like-
you can think of that's traumatic that would change how you, anything that's happened in your life that changes how you live your life in the future?
You and Gran not liking each other.
That was one that I had.
Being broke, just in general.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, I've said not having a father figure. I mean, having a father figure half the time. Like, whenever Ian was there, or
Yeah.
whenever Trent first came. Yeah, I mean, that's the only two I can think of.
So, with not having a father figure, I put like seeing Marvin in jail. Like when we went there and visited him that time, and I think you were like 7 at that point.
Around
And we actually saw him in the jail. Not knowing your sisters was one I thought about would
I don't
really.
know how old they are. Like, I don't even know their birthday.
They're the same age as Momo, just about. I think
No way you're lying.
I think one's 12 and one's 13, or one's 13 and
I
one's
could believe
14,
that.
something like
I
that.
can believe that. Okay.
I don't know if you got trauma, but like to this day, I kind of suffer with it. Like when I first moved to Mayfield, I was like in a toxic arguing all the time home.
Mm-hmm.
So that made me like to this day, I'm confrontational. Like I'm easy to like.
So
flash
that
out
is a
about
trauma.
something.
That is a trauma.
Yeah,
like you
But
do
they used
have.
to argue all the time,
Mhm.
and now I'm not saying I'm argumentative, but like, yeah.
That was, I mean, with them, like, I would wake up in the morning yelling because I was late or because something didn't go my way or because whatever. And, like, now, I mean, we're all loud people anyways, but, like, Momo loves to yell at me and get quick.
And that's defensive,
Like-
and that's how I am. Like
Yeah.
being in a household where it's just straight arguing. And now, like, it's planted of me being defensive. Like now, I'm a defensive person.
And think about how that will go. It's another thing that I've already kind of got in the works, talking with my husband and my sister and her boyfriend, is because, like, coming from a home like that, you don't know how to communicate in your relationships. You don't know how to
But
be in
that's
a
also-
healthy relationship.
Yeah, there's also difference between me and a lot of people. Like the situation I've been through, they wouldn't be able to talk about their feelings or open up. But that's why I do better. Like with, I know how to like talk to people, open up about stuff. That's the difference between me and like a lot.
I feel like I was the complete other way because I feel like even to this day, whenever someone starts yelling at me, instead of yelling back, I feel like I'm either like now I like quiet, like I'll still talk, but I used to just like
immediately cry.
I mean,
immediately
going to turtle shell.
Yeah, just like stop talking, like I don't care, whatever.
But I'll tell you, like your dad, he was 18, 19 years old, and I would see him like get arrested, and the first thing he would do is start crying and say, "I need my mama. I need you to call my mama. I want to talk to my mama." Like that was kind of a running joke between all of us. Was I'm gonna call my mama, like. But that was his thing. Like he would cry. Like now he would fight, but it would be like he would fight, and then when he got in real trouble, he would cry.
Yeah.
So that, I definitely think I said Trent moving in because I think that probably had a big thing on you. Caitlin living with us. So I had custody of my little sister when I was 16 when my sister was born. That was the first life I ever watched coming into this world, and that was traumatic. That's a childhood trauma for me, is watching Caitlin be born. So when she was 12, she lived with us for about a year. I took temporary custody or emergency custody of her away from my dad and her mom. And so what'd you say, you were 5 years older than her on the last one? That's what we figured out.
I was like 7.
Yeah, so you were 7 and she was 12, and Momo would have been 3. And so like Momo remembers Caitlin living with us when she was little, and there was a lot. I don't know. I know that affected you in a lot of ways. That affected me in a lot of ways, dealing with my dad and stuff like that. Like that was a big one for me.
Honestly, I don't remember a whole bunch of her living with us, but I just do remember that like she really took every chance she could to take advantage of me. Like, I would ask to play on her phone, and it was like $3, and I swear to God, I went and got $3.
Yes,
and then after an hour, she'd like take it back. She was hustling me so hard all the time.
Mm-hmm. And then when she got on drugs, I feel like that would have been, because like Granddaddy, you didn't know very well. Like he really wasn't a part of your life at all. You saw him at Christmas, maybe.
Yeah.
Like I don't know that my dad knew what my kids' birthdays were.
I don't know. I mean, I remember he told me happy birthday, but it was only because.
But I would call him and tell him.
Be like, "Hey,"
or
it's
Shayna would tell him. But like, I don't think he knew. I don't know that he knew what their middle names were.
He didn't have any social media, so he didn't know anything.
He didn't know anything about him. He's never. I think he came to a softball game once for Momo when he was living with us at Mayfield because he saw Groucho.
I think so.
Maybe something like that.
I feel like I've seen him at the ballpark before.
Maybe he had came to our ballpark.
But I think it was whenever he was living with us, because like we were at the ballpark and it was whenever he was like doing better.
Like
he was like
when he lived with us on Broadway right after the wreck.
I don't think it was on Broadway. Because we didn't even have the ballpark then. It was whenever we was here. It was like he was like in his like energy.
Maybe he went with us. We were gonna have him up there working every day,
because
but I don't know.
He was up here doing all the light fixtures and all the stuff. So he was in those little phases, and he was really energetic. So he probably I feel like he ended up at the ballpark at some point.
So that leads you into another traumatic event. Granddaddy living with us, both different times. Those were 2 completely different times of him living with us. So that's definitely. So yeah, I think Caitlin being on drugs would be a big one for you too, because then everything that happened with Jaden and all that. So some examples of how all this affects my life. Communicating with my husband. Y'all, I have thought my husband and I were going to get divorced. I can't tell you how many times. How did it, like you being able to communicate with Trent, that was a big one at the beginning. Yeah. And I think y'all are cool now.
Yeah.
But, like, at the beginning, it was
no
not.
communication.
Trent had never had a teenager before, and Jay was a 14-year-old boy who had never had a dad before, and
I
were
had
both.
never had a dad. It was just like this man came in here, and just like not really owns us, but like, I mean, I guess as a parental figure, like that's what it felt like. It was like the same way mom was. Mom could tell me what to do. Mom could boss me around. Mom could do what she wanted.
Because Ian didn't really act like a dad.
No, Ian was cool. Like, he was like a friend, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
But I never felt like he was a parent ever.
Mm-hmm.
Because I only saw him like once a week. But
Trent felt like a parent from the
yeah,
beginning.
and like even like the second day the second time I ever met him was whenever it was while you and Gran weren't like cool. So then he was a part, not really a part of it, but he was on your side, and I was there. I was the only one.
You were on
felt
Gran's
defenseless.
side at that point.
Yes.
And you were the only one in the house that was on Gran's side.
Yes.
At that point.
I don't even think Momo even really was on your side. I feel like it was Momo didn't have, because from the beginning it was like Grant took care of me, you took care of Momo. So like she just didn't have the connection, and it was like Momo didn't have any clue what was going on.
No.
It was she was defending her mother. It was my mom. And it just made it worse because Mo just it's like she was completely correct for it, but like it was just I was 14. And I've got
and Gran paid for all his baseball. Baseball got taken away from him when Gran got taken away.
No baseball was traumatic. I swear, I'm telling you right now.
So there's another.
I'm
See how this just
right
comes
now,
up?
I'd be playing at WKU. I still feel like genuinely I could play at WKU, but if I would have never stopped playing baseball, I would have made it to play D1 at a big school. I can stamp that.
Yes, I agree with that. But I also would like to say, can you imagine playing D1 ball while trying to do all of this study stuff and missing all those classes and not being do you think you would be able to handle it?
I think
certain things for certain.
I think
reasons.
if
Mm-hmm.
I think that all of that stuff affected my grades well, because before, like when you remember 3rd grade, I was all A honor roll all year. 4th grade, I was all A B honor roll. 5th grade, I'm all A B honor roll. And then I get to 12, I'm still all A B C. I was still all A B honor roll 6th grade too. 7th grade was whenever I got, I think, my first F, and that was whenever all of this started. So I feel like it affected baseball and school just as a whole. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could have, I feel like it would have just been better if I had never, all that, getting out of baseball, my grades dropping, all that.
Yes. I do feel like everything has its good and bads and whatever, and like there were definitely ways that it affected your life in a bad way, but we've also talked several times about the ways that it affected you in a good way too. It was good that all that happened and that we were able to, because I don't really know what kind of relationship me and you would have.
I feel like
that all hadn't happened.
I do say I feel like if I would have never quit baseball, I would have been, no, I wouldn't say the same as Austin and his dad, but kind of like that.
You would have been entitled, for sure.
Kind of entitled, like,
because you definitely were at that
played
point
baseball, like, I've never been I was never the worst on the baseball team. I was never picked last in any sporting related anything. Never athletically was I a last pick anywhere. and then playing baseball, paying money to play baseball, where on top of that, I'm paying to play on this team. So I'm definitely not going to be sitting the bench ever. Like, I was pretty entitled at the age of 13 in the baseball world.
Well, and you
I
were
was
always on a
top tier.
team with, like, Jason would definitely not, you know, he knew all of y'all and you knew you were going to play. Just like he conned me out of you running 100 poles so that I could, or so that you could play that Sunday because he needed you to play.
The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, it was only 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, way to go. So okay, communicating with my husband, probably communicating in general. I know I didn't communicate with you guys well. I know that you guys use the word emotional intelligence. I had none in my 20s. And so therefore I didn't teach you guys any because I didn't know any. And so by the time I'm 35 and starting to really learn about myself, you're already 15 and have had those formative years. And so, like, that's why, like, Momo yells at everybody and gets in fights with people because she doesn't know how to, like, regulate her emotions, because I just learned that within the last 5 years. And, you know, he didn't when I was learning it, but, like, now that he's older, he kind of has gotten a little bit better about it.
I was never emotionally available. I'm still really not. Like, I will never just get, like, so deep into my feelings, like, and cry. Like, I feel like I've done it before, and I probably still would to the right person, but, like, I talk about my feelings.
I think that you will to the right person. Like, I do think that it'll come out to either a friend or a girlfriend or maybe a counselor. Jay refuses to go to counseling.
Here's one thing that I say, and it's learning off of, like, experience. I feel like you shouldn't open up to a girl that's not your mother.
I will never.
Or your grandmother.
Or your wife.
Or your... Kinda. And the reason why I say don't fully do it with your wife is because in the generation we live in, women, if they see their man cry, they look at him as a little bit less. Or a little, then I see it a lot of times, like, they might say they don't, but it's like
y'all's age group, yes,
yeah,
I agree with that.
In action.
And, like,
And that's what we're not to marry, our age group.
I would have felt like that probably in my 20s as well, but once I got into my 30s, I looked at it for what it was, because it's a strength, not a weakness. Being able to show your emotions and being able to be vulnerable and being able to, like, humble yourself to that level is a strength and not a weakness.
But in today's society we live in, that's not how.
Y'all's generation, I'm worried about with having formed solid relationships amongst each other, friends or married, like, you know, significant others, because, like, even in my generation, like, divorce is so prevalent. Like, it's such a high divorce rate. And, like, I understand not wanting to open up to somebody because, well, they can just leave me. And, like, that was one of my, like, communicating with my husband is one of the things that I didn't know how to do. So our generation, my generation, the generations above me got divorced because, you know, the women couldn't have a bank account or whatever. And when they finally were able to get out of these abusive relationships, that's wonderful. And then, like, they did that. And, like, my generation, we were kind of raised by single moms. I said that about your generation too. Y'all are definitely
My dad and them was. My mom basically was.
Right. And so you don't have those attachments. You haven't watched your mom and dad or your mom and whoever, like, two parents who you know love you. You haven't watched them love each other. Mm-hmm. And so, like, that's one thing that I do hope. Like, me and Trent in the fight, we've been together 6 years. We've been married for 4. And we've had some major disagreements. And, like, I think we've, like, left the house from each other twice and not, like, spent the night back together because we were that mad and whatever. And, like, one time I was like, you're going to have to get counseling and figure your shit out. And, like, the next day he had a counseling appointment. And at that point, I knew that I could open up to him because if he was willing, like, you see my husband. He's a big, like, manly, like, you know, hunting and fishing and like a man's man type. He'll cry in front of me. He went to counseling. He still goes to counseling.
I can't cry in front of a girl.
Like,
again.
but not every girl deserves for you to do that.
Yeah.
But also, by you doing that, she might change and be the one who you need to cry in front of. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might be the change in her by doing that. So, like, just like your relationships in general, your work relationships, your friend relationships, like, I have a feeling of not belonging because I don't feel like I did belong. My dad didn't want me. My Granny Carol didn't want me. My mom was sick, and a lot of times, like, after, you know, I think she was depressed. She laid in her bed a lot. So, like, you know, I didn't have that. And so I a lot of times they're like, oh, that person doesn't really like me, or I'm bothering that person or whatever. And then not only in your relationships, but like in the community stuff too. Like, I don't feel like I belong at a lot of the tables that I sit at type
That's
thing.
how I feel.
You know, like, I shouldn't, from where I come from, I shouldn't be doing these things, and I shouldn't be able to, like, run a ballpark. Like, I'm not, in my head, I'm not good enough to do the things that I am doing. Even though I'm doing them, I'm still not good enough. And then not knowing how to parent, which I hope that in your generation you kind of do know how to be more emotionally available to your kids. And, you know, y'all don't want to not be able to see your kids like y'all weren't able to see your dads every time that you want to.
Yeah.
And, like, he doesn't know his sisters and how old they are. How do you have other siblings besides the two?
Yeah, but I know it's Robert, May, Jessica, and the Flyer outside of Brianna and Brittany.
See?
But I talk to them on, like, regular basis.
So Jay's dad, and I don't know this, but this was always the number that was brought up to me, that Jay's dad was one of 17 kids from Black Baby.
I know a couple people like that has, like, a dad that just pops out babies.
And Marvin didn't even know all of his brothers and sisters because all the baby mamas don't talk, and some, you know, and so, like, my thing, I would look at Marvin and I'd be like, how can you date? I mean, like, Ocala was a decent sized city, but still, like, how can you date? Because they don't, like, all have their dad's last name. So, how do you, oh, hey, by the way, who's your dad? Oh, hey, by the way, like, how do you date if you don't know? Like, I was afraid to have JJ because those 17 kids could have, I mean, if each one of them had 5 kids, we're talking about over 100.
Grandkids.
Yeah, of his age. So if he's out there dating and he finds out they're his first cousin and they didn't even know it, you know what I'm saying? So, like, stuff like that, that's what I think about.
Kentucky.
Like, well, I know I had to do that in Florida, and then we come to Kentucky, and that's not even, yeah. So I had a bunch of these things going around in my head, and, like, not knowing why or how. So that kind of is what made me go to counseling, because, like, I actually realized that, like, I might be the one that's fucked up, and I always blamed it on my dad. Everything was always like, well, yeah, my dad's an alcoholic, but, like, literally there are so many other things than just my dad being an alcoholic that, like, shaped my life and are shaping your life in that same. So I want to know, we're talking about all these things. Your first tattoo, Break the Cycle. I want you to explain how you came up with that. Like, what made you think? Because I know we've talked about a first tattoo for a while. We've been talking about it for years. I tried to get him to get a tattoo.
I never had my first tattoo.
Still? Oh.
That's my fault, though. I feel like, yeah, it is my fault. Because I had the money for it many times. I'm 18 now.
You should have done it.
Well, I'm 19. Pause.
So when he was 17, we went on spring break in Panama, and I tried to get him to go get a tattoo. We were gonna do it. He didn't know what he wanted. Couldn't figure out what he wanted. So then he turned 18 went on spring break, and he comes back with this tattoo, which I'm mad about because he paid $200 for some fucking typewriter font, but whatever. So, So break the cycle was what was important enough because like he wouldn't get one because it wasn't, So what was important? Like what made you think that was what you needed to do? What cycles are you trying to break? What is and why was it so important to you to have it on your body where you could look at it every day?
Because like granddaddy being an addict, you were an addict at one point in time. My dad does whatever. It's like I'm first generation. It's like just don't do that. Just simple as that. Don't do that.
Don't fuck up
just
like my parents
start
did.
fresh and do good now so that you don't have to start fresh in 20 years whenever you should be 10 years from retirement and
Amen.
living your
because we just bought a house we just got this house. I guess we moved in 4 years ago and had a land contract, and then 2 years ago we got the actual mortgage on it. But I'm 40, so I was 38. We did because it was Amish, and so like there wasn't electricity or water here, and so we had to get everything hooked up. So like a bank wouldn't cover this until I got stuff fixed. So the Amish people like rent to owned it to us for 2 years. And then we went to the bank and got them to put a mortgage on it at that point. So we've paid a mortgage for almost 2 years. But, looking around me, I'm 40. People that were my age that like went to college, got out at 22, got married at 24, and bought their house at 25. Well, hell, their house payment's like $250 a month right now. And it's worth 4 times the amount it was. So they're like, I'm paying double or triple for the same size house because I fucked up 20 years ago and didn't do what I should have done.
Like Alec, my friend I played with when I was
he's married with a baby.
Married, got a baby, got
owns
a house.
Electrician,
he's like
got a career.
21. What's he? 22 maybe.
Hunter.
Hunter,
Abby's brother, he's an electrician. I'm pretty sure
Abby about to be. She's literally a nurse, whatever. Zach will probably he'll go to college. They'll probably play baseball in college for sure.
But like those people that go on the track of, and not saying it has to be college, get married, whatever, but like plan for your future. Like go buy one of these houses in Mayfield that you can get. Yeah, it may be a POS house, but guess what? You own that land. Granddaddy's house is worth $15,000, but it's an acre of prime real estate on a highway. Think about stuff like that. And you could not have a rent payment and just live somewhere that, isn't ideal. If y'all could see this whole house, y'all would, crazy. Okay, so how did you feel about your childhood when you were going through it? Did you think we were just poor? Do you feel like you were like neglected or abused? Or did you feel like I wasn't a good mom? Or did you feel like I was until you kind of got older and realized some things? Like when you were going through it, like when you were going through your childhood, do you feel like you felt like you were different than the other kids around you? Like they had it better and you had it worse? Or did you not realize it?
I felt broke. I knew that we didn't have money.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like abused or anything. I got whooped. But not really truly did I ever feel
like physically abused.
From 13 to 15 maybe, I felt physically abused a little bit.
When you get the same size as your mama, it kind of...
Yes.
And I'm not saying I was right about that, but what do you do with a kid that's your age that's trying to
or your size.
Yeah, your
Yeah.
size, not your age. You're right.
But
you know what I mean?
yeah, I never really felt. I knew we were broke. I never felt beat on. I felt like I was a little mixed up in the head. Like I really didn't know what to think all the time. Like I felt like there was sides to everything in some way. Whether it was you and Gran, whether it was Gran, not really Gran and Pops, the whole bunch, but like I mean there was sides always, but there was never like anything other than that really. I don't think so.
Okay. And so then now, looking back, how do you feel about it?
I'll say I look back and I realize how much more mental abuse there was that I just didn't realize, because and then I look back at it and I feel like I was just always like, I don't want to say forgiving, but like, I really always just went with the flow. Like, I didn't realize it was mental abuse because I always just took it off the shoulder a lot of the times.
That's just how
I never
mom
really,
is,
I really
and that's
never,
just-
I never
yeah.
really let stuff get to me. So I never realized that it was as big of a deal as it was until.
Do you
I
think
look
it's
back at it.
mostly like yelling?
Yelling, I mean, stuff like, alright, I talked to that girl, right? And it was like, she would tell me stuff, and I'm like, there's no way that you're upset over something like that. And then I look back, and I'm like, I'll get completely upset over some crap like that, too. Because that's a completely regular thing. It's your feelings. It's like, you know what I mean?
Like,
Kind of. What were
like,
you
I
gonna
can't
say?
be like, you shouldn't trip about that.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel
Yes.
how you feel. We don't feel the same feelings.
Yes.
So y'all had different upbringings. So like they talk a lot, and I could see how I did this. Like if you're listening, like say when you live with somebody, or even Drayden or whatever, but like you watch how they walk in the door, and like if they're how they set the bags down. If they're in a bad mood, like you learn to
Body
like
language is a
watch
lot.
and. Because, like, if I was in a bad mood, and now knowing that it was, like, mostly, like, ADD overstimulation. Like, as soon as I get home, Jay wants to come love on me because he hasn't seen me in a while, and I'm his whole world. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
But I have all the weight on the world on my shoulders. Work this, bills that, me and Gran, me and Ian are fighting, my car's messed up, whatever, and then you're like loud on top of that, and my brain can't handle it. And now knowing how your brain is, you can understand where it was. But when you were a child, all you feel is unloved at that point in time. Or like in the morning when we would wake up late and you and your sister would be dragging ass. You got good at getting up, getting right out of bed, getting dressed, and getting out there. Like, because I would yell. Because I would wake up pissed off. I would yell. Y'all would forget something and make me more late. And instead of like being understanding and forgiving, because I feel like maybe in my childhood I always used to be wrong about stuff or something. I don't know specifically, but like Momo does it now. Like if you tell her she's wrong, she's like, I'm not stupid. And I'm like, you can be wrong. It doesn't make you a bad person. It doesn't make you dumb. It doesn't make you anything. Like it just makes you wrong. It just means that you'll know next time and you won't be wrong. But like y'all's whole childhood, I would go fucking crazy on
That
about
too,
stuff
I hate that
like-
because everybody tells me that I'm like defensive, and I'm like, it's just because, like, they'll try to, like, people will try to play you out to make you sound dumb, and it's like, I know, like, all right, you're gonna tell me we live in the same college dorm, we pay the same tuition, we are college students, we're smart, like, I'm obviously not stupid. But you're talking to me like I'm dumb, and I don't appreciate that. I'm unappreciative of the way you're talking to me. It's
Right.
not as much about being defensive. It's just you're talking like I'm stupid.
And so do you think going to college, I know we've talked about it, but you said going to college made you realize that everybody's life is fucked up?
Yes.
So, like, do you think that affects the way that you think about your childhood in a good way or a bad way? We're on 1 minute, but
I feel like it. I mean, it doesn't make me. It makes me. It makes me feel better, kind of. Not really like. Cause I see the way. All right, it makes me feel better in a sense of I have a lot of people to relate to. I mean, it doesn't really make me feel any kind of way, but at the same time, I also feel better because I see the way that people who had healthy lives, or so they claim, or I mean, everybody says they have a healthy life, but those people who had 2-parent households and that generational, just the way they act, and like I'm just so glad I was not one of those people. Like I truly am almost. I mean, I hate to pray on your downfall.
For your.
I hate to pray on your downfall, but I'm so glad that you like never married and settled down and like because I feel like I would be so underdeveloped.
So
not
your
really
trauma
smart,
helped
but
you develop into
yes.
the, and I do. That's why
That's
we're
what I
doing
mean,
this.
it
Like
really helped me.
it helped you
But
develop
hurt me
into the
kinda.
person you are today. You wouldn't be that person if it wasn't for that.
Now I really don't know what. Now at the same time though, I would also almost say that I would act the exact same way that those people act if I had the bag that they did. If I had that money, but at the same time, some of those people just didn't work for it. Like they just got that money, and for you to act that way when you
That is
just
money.
got that money, get out of my face. You know what I
That
mean?
is what I mean.
But like I
So,
respect
yeah.
somebody. If you got you made your money, you got that with your own 2 hands. Like act however you want to act, because I will act however I want to act as soon as I get money. But like some people just don't deserve. And
Okay, so one last question, and then we're gonna wrap it up for today. So you have said before that you definitely want to be in college for the whole 4 years away from Mayfield, but that after college you thought that you wanted to come back to Mayfield and you could see yourself being on like boards and in community roles. And, you know, you had discussed maybe the high school baseball coach or maybe on city council and on the NAACP and things like that. And like I said, there are a lot of times I don't feel like I deserve a seat at those tables, even though I know in my heart that I do, but, you know, it's just my own insecurities. So how do you feel? I know that you're super, like, on the outside at least, everybody knows JJ is a confident person. He's always the center of attention. He never meets a stranger. He doesn't care what he wears. Like, you don't care if you get made fun of for wearing my big purple jacket the other night. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't care if somebody's going to say you have something feminine on. You always liked hot pink and purple and all the, like, you just don't really have those physical insecurities that a lot of people do. So if you see yourself coming back and being on those things, do you feel like you will be comfortable there? Do you feel like you will feel like you shouldn't, like you don't belong?
I feel like even right now, I do feel like in a lot of situations, my opinion is not respected. I don't know if that's just it might just be a me thing, but even when I'm with my friends, I still feel like I grabbed one of their hands and followed them there. Like I wasn't supposed to be in the plans, and I just put myself in there. Like
See, I hate doing
I
that.
still like
don't
I
wanna be
feel
that
I
type of
always
person.
feel
Yeah,
like
I don't
I'm
wanna
just a
bother
burden
anybody.
to somebody.
That's me. I swear that's me. Cause I'll ask JJ. I'll be like, JJ, if I'm ever getting on your nerves or ever like, you know what I'm saying,
just let me know.
just let me know, cause I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get mad. I'm one of the people you gotta let me know. I'm gonna get comfortable hanging out with you.
Yeah.
And it's gonna turn into an everyday thing.
Yeah.
Like that's how I'm the type of person.
Right. But if you need your alone time, just let me know. Because
Yeah,
I can have
please
my
let
alone
me
time
know.
too.
Please
But
let me
just
know.
don't. I hate it when you get like mad
Yes,
about it.
and I'm such an it's because I respect people so much, and I will listen to people. I respect everybody's opinion. I mean, even when I argue now, it's healthy. Like I honestly am really
That's what I'm
good
learning how
at
to
like
do now.
arguing in a healthy way. But like people don't do that back, and I just truly don't feel like they deserve. Like I don't feel like I deserve for you people to talk to me the way that they do.
So I think that comes all the way, circles back to, once again, the whole reason we're doing this podcast is so many people think that, oh, I came from a healthy background. I had a dad. We had, money, whatever. So I don't have issues. Somebody else, like, they think you have to be the toxic one because you come from a single parent household or you were low. Like, you're the toxic one, not them. But realistically, everybody needs to look in themselves because everybody has issues with something, doing something, having something, whatever. So I really enjoyed that today. I'm sad that Leslie wasn't here because she did have another perspective on that because she didn't get raised by a single parent household. So her generational and childhood trauma was completely different. So we're going to wrap it up today. Our next episode is I'm really excited. Cody's going to be on here. My friend Cody. And we're going to get to talk about a lot of things. He is a single parent, but he's a single dad, which is a little bit different than you always hear about single moms and stuff. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff with him, and he's hilarious. So it should be a really good episode. So I guess we are, what do I say? We're signing off. I got to come up with like my little...
flying away.
Yeah. Yeah, because the bird's flying away. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Flying away.
Bye. Bye, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe. Okay. Tell us all the topics you want to talk about. It's gonna be great. Okay, love you. Bye. Mwah.